Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Summoned by C.P. Ryder. Narrated by Kyla García. Chapter 1. Ever since the paranormals in town found out I could kill them with the power of my mind, business at La Buena Suerte Panaderia had been slow. If the residents of Sundance, California had been less reactionary, I could have told them I had rules. I didn't use either my telepathic or spiker abilities unless necessary, didn't read friends without permission, spiked no one unless there was no other option. Then again, people would only have my word that I followed my rules, and with my wolf shapeshifter uncle gone, there weren't many paranormals in the vicinity who trusted me. Two of the exceptions were standing at the counter ordering an obscene amount of pastries for a gathering later that evening. The black shifters loved sweets. Also fresh meat, but I didn't sell that. "Another 24 conchas, I think." Chandra Smith, Black Group Alpha 2nd, hyena shifter, and all-around badass, drummed her boot heel on the tile floor. 4. Amir Gamal, Black Group Alpha 4th, eagle shifter, and male model, I didn't know that for sure, but I suspected, crossed his arms, tucking his hands beneath biceps the size of mangoes. "Maybe we should get 6 just to be sure," Chandra growled. "Damn Dan and his ridiculousness. He should be doing this." I said nothing, only scratched out the numbers 2 and 4 on my notepad and scribbled in 6. "Sorry, Neely." Chandra scrubbed at her black hair. The spiked cut, coupled with her pale brown complexion, reminded me of the singer Joan Jett, but I'd never tell Chandra that, unless I was sure that was the look she was after. "I'm sure he'll get over it." "Yeah." My pencil lead broke, and I reached beneath the counter for an ink pen. "He seems to be a real open-minded sort of guy." "Normally he is." Amir shuffled his feet. "I believe you frightened him the day your uncle, the day we found Jose." In fairness, I'd scared myself with the amount of power I'd manifested the day my uncle died. I guess I could understand why Dan Winters, a coyote shifter, and Lucas Blacke's third, would be nervous around me. Sadly, he wouldn't talk to me about it, just took off in the other direction every time we crossed paths. "How are Lucas and his new shifters?" "Alpha hasn't called you?" Amir asked. I shook my head. The Black Alpha and I had left things unsettled between us, and he didn't seem in any particular hurry to settle up. Chandra replied, "He says it's going well. This group is the last of the Vegas shifters to be pledged. They're aquatic animals, so he took them snorkeling in Baja. Should be back in a couple days." Rosso had aquatic shifters in his pack? In the desert? Seemed unnecessarily cruel, but I shouldn't have been surprised. Saul Rosso had been an unnecessarily cruel man. "Only 3. Rosso slaughtered their alpha and most of their school, and then forced them into his pack." The way Amir's jaw clenched told me everything I needed to know about how he felt about that. "The real question is why they'd want to stay here in our desert. Alpha suggested they meet with a friend of his, an aquatic alpha in San Diego, but they insist they want to be part of our group." "They trust him." It didn't surprise me. Lucas, the alpha leader of the only shifter group in our little desert truckstop town, was slowly becoming known for being a fair alpha leader. A rarity in the paranormal world. "And they don't trust anyone else," Chandra said. A few weeks ago, Lucas had helped me kill Saul Rosso, a Las Vegas wolf alpha hell-bent on turning me into his own personal paranormal weapon. While hunting me, he had gone on a murder spree in Sundance, and we weren't able to stop him until after he'd killed several people, including my beloved uncle. So I carried that on my soul. Lately, it seemed as if all the bad luck in town emanated from me, as if I were some kind of anti-four-leaf clover. I didn't realize I'd murmured the words out loud until Amir said, "What you did was brave. You didn't have to sacrifice yourself for us." Never mind, Rosso would never have come to our little corner of the southwestern desert if I hadn't lured him here. Being a spiker meant being feared by the weak and coveted by the despotic. In Rosso's corrupt eyes, I had been a weapon, nothing more. I couldn't be happier that he was dead, but I regretted my inability to contain the fallout. The shifters left after that, and I took their order to the back of the bakery and handed it to my temporary baker, Diego Vargas. He scanned the receipt. "Pity order, do you think?" I asked. Diego nodded, the hairnet keeping his longish dark brown hair from moving. "Yes, but we'll take it. Pity money spends the same." "True. So when do you start the new job?" After months of looking, Diego had finally found work at a sugar beet processing plant in the town an hour away. Dan Winters, the coyote shifter who hated me, had gotten him the job. It wasn't personal. Diego needed retirement benefits and better pay, and his job at the bakery could offer him neither. 2 weeks. I'm sorry, Neely. I said I'd help you, and I held up a hand. Stop apologizing. I'm happy for you. I really am. I was. If I wasn't, I wouldn't have told him so. Diego was an empath and can sometimes sense when a person is lying. I'll come in and help after work until you find another baker to take over. Diego really was a sweet man. Thank you, but I haven't decided if I'm going to keep the bakery going. This was Theo Jose's dream, not mine. What is your dream? He shook flour over the freshly scrubbed work table and dumped out the concha dough I'd made early this morning. A cloud of white danced on the surface of the table. No idea. I always assumed I'd know it when I saw it. He smiled. Maybe you will. The bell on the front door hit the glass with a sharp crack. Did you hear that? Someone wants an iced coffee badly enough to brave the presence of the evil spiker. I widened my eyes and made a woo-woo noise. Don't be so dramatica. My stomach clenched, because it sounded exactly like something my uncle would have said, and it had only been 2 months since I lost him. I missed him so much my entire body ached whenever I thought about him not being here. Diego stopped what he was doing. I'm sorry it hurts you so much. The challenge of working with an empath. Thanks. I just miss him. I'll be okay. I plastered a fake smile on my face and went back into the cafe. Chapter 2. It was past 9 and I'd showered, thrown on my pajamas, and was lying in bed with a book. A romantic suspense with a serial killer I wanted the couple to hurry up and kill so I could concentrate on the juicy romance. Not that I could concentrate on much. I kept thinking about what Diego had asked me in the bakery this morning. What is your dream? If he had asked me the same question a year and a half ago, I'd have said my dream was to co-own a bakery with my uncle and marry and make cute babies with Julio Rosso, my fiancé. Of course, that was all before Julio told his maniacal brother Saul that I was a spiker, and before Saul told Julio that it would be in the best interests of all involved if I let him make me into a crossbreed. The crossbreed ceremony would have turned me from a telepathic spiker into a shape-shifting telepathic spiker. It would have sent my abilities into the stratosphere, at the same time making me emotionally unstable and a danger to everyone around me. It would also have tied me to Saul Rosso for the rest of my life. There was the chance Julio didn't know I'd be practically married to his brother. I was almost willing to give him the benefit of the doubt because there was a stupid part of me that held out hope that he'd really loved me and hadn't been using me all along. Why can't I get you out of my head, Julio Rosso? Who are you talking to? I leapt out of bed with my pillow held in front of me as a shield, my chest pumping like an accordion playing Cajun Zydeco music. What the hell? A tall, dark blonde, and very handsome man leaned against the wall beside the stairs. Good evening to you, too. Lucas Blacke had sauntered into my apartment the way he always did, quiet as a whisper and with blatant disregard for my privacy. It was late, but he was dressed as if on his way to a business meeting. Charcoal suit tailored to fit his slim, muscular body, hair smoothed back, tie precisely knotted. It was a look he'd shown me only once before, and it was completely un-Lucas-like. He glanced at the stainless steel Tag Heuer watch on his tanned wrist. Not too late, is it? Yes, it's too freaking late. I have to be up at 4. Please, it's not as if you have a long commute. You live where you work. True. My apartment was on the second floor of the bakery, which was convenient. But there were both pros and cons to living where you worked. Con, some people assumed I was always open and had no problem knocking on my door after hours for a pastry. Pro, I never needed air freshener because my apartment always smelled like fresh-baked cookies. And the commute, of course. Lucas was right about that. I'm going to figure out what hole you're using to sneak in here, and I'm going to board it up. I set my jaw, glared at him. Lie. If you were really worried about me sneaking in, you'd have found it by now. He pulled away from the wall, hips first, and strolled past my bathroom and into my small kitchen, opened the fridge, and frowned into it. My place was compact, but it had everything I needed. Bathroom with a tub, kitchen with a full-sized oven, living area with a modular sofa, and a full-sized bed on a pine platform, sectioned off by strategically placed glass walls and bookcases. Tonight was one of the times I wished I'd paid the extra to put in a bedroom wall instead of leaving my bed visible to anyone who walked in. What are you doing here? And why are you dressed like that? I climbed back onto my bed, crossed my legs tailor style, and arranged the pillow on my lap. Like what? Fancy pants. I had expected him to smile at that. He didn't. He closed the fridge without taking out anything and crossed the room to me. I had a last-minute meeting in San Diego today. With whom? Lucas perched on the edge of my bed, leaned over me to read the title of the book on my nightstand. Romance? I crossed my arms. With whom, Lucas? You're nosy. He picked up my book, flipped through it. I'm nosy? I crossed my arms over my chest. You know what? I don't even care. Why are you here? Why is the binding on this book broken? Talking to Lucas was an exercise in patience. I'll tell you if you tell me why you're here. He snapped the book closed and fixed his amber eyes on me, probably silently judging my white flannel nightgown. When it was boiling out, I liked to run the air conditioner at just under hang meat temperature and pretend I was somewhere wintry. I would not apologize to anyone for sleeping in comfort. I was summoned to San Diego by my old Alpha. My heart stuttered. Xavier Malcolm. The one and only. Lucas didn't talk about his old pack Alpha much, but when he did, it wasn't complimentary. Can he do that if you aren't a member of his pack anymore? No. But he can ask really nicely with the power of 1,000-strong wolf pack behind him. Oh. Yeah. Oh. He looked down at the romance book in his hand. So, what did he want? He wants to meet you. Lucas tossed the book on the bed. I told him you aren't part of my group, so I couldn't force you. He asked me to extend an invitation. Fear drenched me. My breath started coming in shallow pants. No. I'd never met an Alpha besides Lucas who didn't want to use me for my ability, and if I was being completely honest, I still wasn't 100% on Lucas. No. You can say no, but he'll keep asking. It may get messy. His shoulders slumped and he raked his fingers through his hair, leaving it mussed and much more Lucas-like. I'm sorry. I didn't tell him what you were, but someone here did. He has his spies. Shit. Do you think I should see him? I wrapped my arms around my knees, rested my forehead on my kneecaps. You probably should. I'm afraid. I raised my head, caught him twirling a lock of my spiral-curled hair around his finger. He did that often. Touched my hair. Anyone else tried it, and I would have backhanded them, but Lucas was, well, Lucas. Afraid? You? He let my dark chestnut curl spin out, stroked his fingers over my jaw. You're the warrior who took down Sal Rosso. What do you have to be afraid of? He said the words as if he meant them, but his lashes lowered over his eyes, and I knew he was worried. Sure, I took down Saul Rosso, but without Lucas's help, I would have died doing it, and that was the absolute truth, whether he wanted to admit it or not. I'm not a warrior. I'm just a baker's niece. And now I wasn't even that. I'll go with you. He played with another strand of my hair. This time, I did slap his hand away. Will he think we're together if you go with me? Like a couple? Lucas lifted one shoulder. He might. Would that be best? For him to believe that we're lovers? Yes. He should also believe that you're considering joining my group. Lucas reached for my hair again, but stopped short of touching it. And this will all be easier if we stick close to the truth. The truth? Are you saying I really have to be your lover and potential group member? If this was his way of sneaking into my bed, I was going to junk kick him. No sex necessary, but I'm game if you are. I was losing patience with his flippant answers. Lucas, talk to me. I am talking. Listen, it's all semantics with alpha leaders like Malcolm. If I said we're sleeping together, he wouldn't think we were having pillow fights and painting each other's nails. This is me we're talking about. He shrugged out of his jacket, dress shirt, and undershirt, kicked off his shoes, and climbed into bed with me, wearing only a pair of trousers that sat low on his hips. I tried hard not to stare at the two shallow grooves on either side of his abdominal muscles leading into his waistband. What was the term for it? Apollo belt? Penis cleavage? Whatever it was called, it was really nice to look at. I bet it would be nice to touch, too. Is this my side of the bed? I came to my senses. You don't have a side of my bed, Lucas. That's my pillow. You can have this. Wait, what am I doing? I scooted to the other side of the bed as he made himself comfortable. What are you doing? Read my mind and find out. His tone was teasing, but those aged whiskey eyes were serious. No. I'd stopped reading the people who came into my bakery once I had taken down my uncle's murderer. I was back to my rules, which included respecting my fellow humans and paranormals and keeping myself out of their heads. After all, I owed these people at least that. If it weren't for me, Rosso never would have come to Sundance. Guilt is a shitty emotion, Lucas whispered. You should let it go. My voice trembled a little. Tell me what you're doing in my bed. Semantics. I already told you. Pay attention. Also, reading. It's not John D. MacDonald, but it'll have to do. He picked up my book, opened it. A smile curled the corners of his sexy, deceptive mouth. Also, never mind. Never mind what? I dropped onto my pillow and pulled the blanket over my shoulders. He flipped the pages in my book. Never mind explaining why the binding is broken here. I get it. This is sexy stuff. Go to sleep, Lucas. I flipped over, facing away from him. I had to admit, there was a small part of me that was glad he was here. I hadn't slept well since the town had turned on me. Kept picturing Dan Winters showing up with a vampire stake while I was sleeping. I knew Lucas would protect me. He'd already proved it. But if he wasn't around, no telling what his shifters might do. You first. I'm going to finish this chapter. I heard the page turn. You sure you don't want to have sex with me after reading this? I'm sweating over here. No, I wasn't sure. And it didn't have a thing to do with the book, either. It had to do with the way he made me smile when I didn't mean to. The fathomless loneliness inside me that called out to him. And it was that damn penis cleavage. I rolled over, snatched the romance out of his hands, tossed it on my nightstand. Be that way. He hunkered down beside me and ran his fingers over my flannel sleeve. A shiver went through me at his touch. Why was I so weird? I couldn't find a nice, normal man to be attracted to. It had to be this one. I was a tonta, my uncle would say. A fool. And I had terrible taste in men. Neely? Oh my God, what now? You look like someone's virgin great aunt in that nightgown. Shut up and go to sleep. When I woke up the next morning, Lucas was snoring beside me. He'd slept on top of the covers with his arm around my waist. If he'd made the gesture sexual, I'd have shoved him away. But it had been about comfort more than anything. Only I wasn't sure which of us was more comforted by it. As was my custom, I went downstairs to take the chairs off the tables, wipe them down, and start up the ancient coffee maker. Sometimes I whipped up pastry dough at this time, but the orders were low right now, and I'd made up enough yesterday to last through today. Surprisingly, I still had regulars who came in for iced coffees and pan dulce, who did not treat me any differently than they had before they knew I was a spiker. There were also regulars who came in and treated me like I had a communicable disease. I didn't mind. At least they came in. That done, I dashed upstairs to condition wash my hair. It took some time to dry, so I rarely washed it on a weekday morning. However, I'd slept like wild beasts were chasing me in my dreams, and my hair was a fuzzy mess on one side. It needed conditioner, styling cream, and gel. Stat. Lucas was sitting at my kitchen table when I walked out of the bathroom in a blue cotton sundress with a microfiber towel on my head. "Where's the flannel nightie, Grandma Esther?" he asked. "I will wear what I like in my own home. It's 100 degrees out. Not in here. Wait a sec. Grandma Esther? How do you know about the Waltons? That's a bit before your time." I squeezed the towel on top of my head, trying to absorb water without creating frizz, always a trick with my curls. I grew up with Tío José, who practically welded our living room television to the classic TV station. How do you know about it? Chandra. Did not see that coming. Our Chandra? He nodded. She binges on 70s shows when she's sad. After she and Cynthia broke up, she power-watched the entire series over the course of a month. Anyone who dropped by got an eyeful of John Boy, Jim Bob, and the rest of the gang. I'm just relieved that we didn't have to watch Welcome Back, Kotter again. Better than binging on ice cream, I guess. She did that, too. And corn nuts. I smell coffee. I need it inside me right now. He was still shirtless and shoeless, and now he was scruff-jawed and sleep-rumpled. The jewel-eyed watercolor tiger tattoo climbing up his left arm appeared to be watching me every bit as closely as its owner. "Get dressed and come downstairs. I'll pour you a cup." He shook his head. "I'd rather have it here. With you." "Yeah, well, I have to open up in 5 minutes." I scrunched my hair with the towel and let the curls hang damply down my back. As you know, there's nothing in my fridge except leftover frozen pizza. Come down with me and I'll get you a pastry. Okay. He stood and started toward the stairs. Hang on. I put my palm against his muscled chest. His skin was hot. Most shifters ran a few degrees hotter than regular humans, but Lucas ran hotter than most. Or was that just me? Get dressed first. Try to look like you arrived this morning instead of last night. One perfectly shaped brow went up. Maybe I want people to know we're sleeping together. We're not sleeping together. We just did. Yes, but we're not sleeping together, I said. Lucas tugged on one of my damp curls. Why aren't we? Because I'm terrified of you. Because it would never work. Because you're you and I'm me, and that's that. We're barely figuring out how to be friends. Friends? He let go of my curl, watched it mix back in with the others. What? You don't want to be friends? I dropped my hand from his chest, took a step back. It was getting a little too intimate between us, and I was a little too comfortable with that. I do. It's just, I normally separate people into two camps, friends and lovers. You don't fit neatly in either category. Yeah, I backed away, heading toward the stairs. If it makes you feel any better, I'm just as confused as you are about what this is. Chapter 3. My regulars came and went in a steady stream for the first 20 minutes after I unlocked the doors. I served cookies and pan dulce, hot and cold coffee. The glass display cases were starting to look bare, which was a good thing, but also a bad thing because Diego wasn't due to come in until tomorrow, and it would be difficult for me to break away with him gone. A half hour after opening, Lisa Caesar sauntered in with Margaret Lentz, the busybody of the Black Shifter group. I heaved a heavy inward sigh and resolved myself to the inevitability that one or both women would be pissing me off soon. They were two of the few shifters who overtly and aggressively hated me. Most people hid it better. Margaret was an alpha wolf shifter with the Black group. She had steel-gray hair curled to within an inch of its life, and her right eye blinked more than her left when she was in full sermonize mode. She'd been born middle-aged. I was absolutely convinced of it. I could not imagine her under 40.
"I'll have a small iced coffee."
Lisa brushed her straight brown hair over her shoulder. She was as tall as Margaret, around 6 foot, and in her mid-30s. She was also a rattlesnake shifter with Lucas's group, and the town's elementary school teacher, which made a strange sort of sense when you thought about it.
"I'll have the same."
Margaret fanned herself. The ceiling fans were running full blast, and the air conditioner was set to 65, but she was sweating like a televangelist in a confessional.
"Oh, and a muffin. One of those."
She pointed to a mantecada. I filled 2 cups with ice and added coffee, cream, and my homemade sugar syrup. I set them on the counter along with 2 paper straws and grabbed a small sack for the mantecada. I didn't ask if Margaret was taking it to go. That damn woman was taking it to go.
"I'm surprised you stayed in town after your uncle was murdered."
I glared at the busybody and she caught herself.
"Since your uncle's passing. It was her fault he was killed."
Lisa tossed her money on the counter.
"Maybe staying here is her penance."
That one stung. Mostly because she wasn't wrong. Not entirely.
"Now, Lisa, that's unkind."
Margaret's eyes gleamed with a sort of wicked delight at the scene unfolding in front of her. She took her money out of her wallet and laid the bills in a precise pile on the counter as sweat trickled down the sides of her face, dribbling on my clean countertop. The woman was up to something. I swept up the cash and shoved the pastry bag at Margaret. "Will that be all?"
"You don't belong here."
Lisa's gaze was hooded and dark.
"You brought that murderer to our doorstep. How do we know there aren't more? You're a danger to us."
"I would like to add that if you're staying because of our Alpha, you should know that he's fickle when it comes to affairs of the heart. He's what the young people call a player or a man-whore." Margaret's eye twitched at the speed of a hummingbird wing flap, and the curly gray hair that edged around her face was soaked. "I'm not saying this to be unkind, dear. I'm trying to help you. God save me from Margaret and her help."
"Yeah, well, I have no problem being unkind. No one wants you here, Spiker. Even the ones who come in every morning and order their pastries just like they always have."
Lisa downed her coffee and set her cup on the counter. If she thought she was getting a free refill, she was wrong.
"They've been ordered to be nice to you. They wouldn't come in otherwise. We all know you brought death to this town with your lies and secrets."
Everyone in this town has a secret. I grabbed a rag and disinfectant spray from behind the display case to my right and mopped up Margaret's sweat. You wouldn't live in Sundance if you weren't hiding from something. My something just happened to show up this time. Maybe next time it's yours. I pointed at Lisa with the spray bottle. Or yours, Margaret.
"Well, now, I don't... That is...
I stayed and fought mine. Would you do the same, Lisa? Or would you turn, rattle, and run?" The snake shifter's eyes faded from dark brown to pale gold, and her tongue lengthened, forking at the tip.
"I wouldn't have to. I don't have enemies."
"Oh, so you're here for the amazing weather." I laughed humorlessly. "It's September and supposed to..."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?